Found a frozen spot. Well, that was close. At least now I won't get wet. Hey everybody! Hey everybody, welcome back to Adventures of Spackmann. That's a little better. You may be wondering why I have a snorkel and a diver's mask. Because today we're testing out the StoveHut 70 version 2. So I think I noticed two differences between version 2 and version 1 of the StoveHut 70 by Pomoly. One being this tie out right here in the middle on the awning. I really thought they should have had a guy out here, and I'm glad they added it. But I also think they need one in the middle to tie it out like the other side has. And then they actually added a vent cover on the inside. Let me show you that. Right in here, they added this vent cover. This isn't gonna help with the leaking situation, but it will help with closing the vent off if you don't want it open so that you can collect heat in here and have less cold air coming in there. Now, I'm not gonna show you how to set up this tent in this video because I already did that in version 1 test video. So if you're interested in how to set this up or that test video, I'll leave it in the description down below. In the previous test, I found that the seam for the vent was the leaky spot of my tent. I had taken it out the weekend prior to my testing and I woke up with puddles because we had like 6 hours of rain. So I really wanted to know where those puddles came from, and I found them in that video. Now, Pomoly has since responded and sent me version number 2 of their tent for testing. They told me that they changed some glue with the threads. I don't think they changed any of the other waterproofing with that seam, but they said that you have to have the cover for the seam, the outside cover, the outside flap, in the most closed position, and to prevent the water from saturating the threads in that seam, causing it to leak. So I have it set up in the most closed position that I could get it in, and we're gonna run our test today. So down here I have the stake all the way down in the corner. That one's going straight down to the ground, and so is that one over there. Normally this vent should be open, but right now it is completely closed to stop the water. Now, even with it completely in the closed position, there's still this space right here where I feel water's gonna pool and soak right through there. So like I said, I'm really only testing this seam today. Water's gonna be hitting the whole tent, but I'm really worried about this seam because this is the one that I found was leaking, and this is the one that I feel you should worry about as well. I have it set up like Pomoly told me to, in the most closed position. So we're gonna get the water test going. You guys know the drill. We're gonna set up the hose for an hour. Oh, by the way, it's like 10 degrees Fahrenheit out, so this is gonna be very interesting to see how the hose works and how the water comes out. I have a feeling that the temperature is gonna help it by freezing this seam and freezing the whole tent, and there's just gonna be ice, but we're gonna find out together. Let me know in the comments down below if you think closing this flap is actually gonna stop it from leaking or not. I do not think so. But before I get the time lapse going, here's a word from our sponsor. This is the Argus PT. Installation of this camera was so easy. You download the app, you hook it to your Wi-Fi, and you find a sunny spot to stick it. Because the Argus PT is solar powered. You can control this camera right from your phone with the app. Oh look, there's the garbage from the woods. Link in the description as well as a discount code. Right, now let's get the hose hooked up and get this test going. My spigot was frozen, so I had to get the hairdryer out and thaw that out. So I hope it's not frozen again. If it is, blow dryer's there, so we'll get that going again. So I got the hose set up on the tripod, pointing at the tent. Genius at work sign all set up. So now I'm gonna go turn the water on and you're gonna see it, well, hopefully you're gonna see it come out of there before I do. I beat the water, which to be honest, that's not a good sign. Like it's frozen somewhere. Found a frozen spot. All right, guys, we've got water. If you guys haven't already, give this video a thumbs up. 21 minutes to get the hose on. All right, let's check this out. Look, it's already slush. Slush right on that seam. Wow, that's quick. Slush everywhere. All right, guys, I'm gonna let this go for an hour. We're gonna check in at the 30-minute mark. I have the door open. We'll see how it does. I'll see you in a little bit. Let the time lapse begin. Don't worry, I'll fast forward through it so it'll be over like this. All right, it's been an hour. Let's go see how it did. There's a lot of water down here. Come on, guys. You gotta come with me, right? On first inspection, it's actually looking good. Let's lift up this flap and see what's underneath it. There's water right here on the screen, and it's frozen. I don't know where that came from. Because above this, the seam looks good. Maybe that splashed from outside. Which is actually another thing that Pomoly said. You have to have that vent closed in order to prevent splashing. At the 10-minute mark, I ended up getting the Mr. Buddy heater because I just felt like it was too cold outside for this water test without having a heat source in here. And the heat source definitely helped with thawing out the ice, but the seam held. It did not leak. The water's been running for an hour. At the 30-minute mark, when I checked it, it was dry in here, so I ended up moving the hose just to hit this one side. So for the last half hour, it's been hitting this one side nonstop with water, and it's still dry. Very surprised. I did not test it with the seam open and guide out, because Pomoly specifically said that you have to have it closed in order to prevent the water from leaking through it. And it seemed like that helped. I do want to say, if you ended up purchasing this tent, make sure you seam seal this top vent seam. That the whole thing, from one side to the other on the outside, is what I would do. I would also recommend replacing the stakes. If you plan on using this on frozen ground in the winter time, you're going to have a heck of a time getting these into the ground. I bent at least 6 of these today setting this tent up, and one of them actually snapped right here. The whole hook of it snapped right off. It's in the ground. I ended up bending it over and still using it because I wanted to. But I highly recommend switching out these stakes for some bigger ones, thicker, better ones to go into the ground when it's frozen, and seam sealing this. So Pomoly did respond, like I said earlier. They said that this vent needs to be completely closed in order to prevent water from seeping through the seam at the threads. So here's the scenario. It's nighttime. You're sleeping. You're tucked into bed, nice and warm. All of a sudden you hear water of some sort, snow, rain, start to hit the tent. It's raining. Oh no, that's rain. So you jump out of bed and you go and you close this vent to make sure you don't get wet at night. At least I won't get wet now. Whew, that was close. Hi guys, if you like this sort of thing, think about hitting that subscribe button. I'll leave it right here in the middle for you. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you on the next one. See ya.